Good evening, everyone. Welcome to another round of sound. This is the #1 Cochran Sports Showdown. I'm Bob Pompeani. Thanks for joining us tonight. Always a lot to talk about. We're going to get into Paul Skenes and whether or not the Pirates are legitimately talking contract with him. Also, we'll take a look around the NFL. There were some interesting stories, but the #1 topic tonight on the #1 Cochran Sports Showdown is the Steelers. After a win last night in Jacksonville, here to talk about it is Jeff Hathhorn, sports director, 93.7 The Fan. Andrew Fillipponi, PM team, every day 2 to 6 on The Fan. Chris Adamski, Trib Live, does an outstanding job covering the Steelers all season long. So, Chris, I'm going to start with you on this. Quarterback situation. We saw two good performances last night. No Will Howard, no Aaron Rodgers. Your assessment of those two, and what does it mean generally to the scope of that room? You know, they normally keep 3 quarterbacks. One must go to the practice squad or trade, potentially. What do you think is going to happen?
I mean, I don't know. Skylar Thompson, we watch him every day at practice. He hasn't really done anything to distinguish himself at all. I don't think it would be – the injury sort of muddles things, but Will Howard was enough of a lottery pick, late round draft choice that he's going to make this team. He's early on a developmental way. We'll see. I'm not as yet ready to say there's any chance he's really the quarterback of the future or can be the quarterback of the future, but the Steelers aren't going to give up on him, so he's going to make the roster spot. Mason Rudolph's established as one of the better backups in the NFL, so he's got it. Aaron Rodgers there. I mean, Skylar was a great game from him. Hopefully he gainfully employs himself. Now we'll see if an injury situation, either with Skylar or with one of the other guys, is probably the only scenario I see Skylar Thompson making the team. But it was a good showing by him. It was nice to see him go out there. And
I thought they both did very well.
Yes, they did.
Well, he's 28 years old. And Will Howard's a rookie who won a national championship and led the nation in completion percentage, touchdowns, and yards. So I would prefer keeping him if you want to rig it.
As would I, but I'm just asking.
If you want to rig it and put him on the IR because he's going to miss a few weeks, but then you burn a spot if you do that. So I would just cut Skylar Thompson and
trade or trade.
I don't think teams are going to want him.
You don't think?
My take.
As a backup?
I actually think the bigger story is I'm not convinced Aaron Rodgers is better than Mason Rudolph. I'm just going to say it right now. I'm not.
Oh, my.
Come on now.
Hold on. And you guys watch him in practice, and we saw what Mason Rudolph did in the Steelers offense 2 years ago, and we've seen Aaron Rodgers from his last year in Green Bay to what he did in New York.
I get it.
Kabali called him the best backup quarterback in the NFL. So that, by definition, would mean he's the 33rd best quarterback in the league. I don't think the gap is that big between the two guys. And Rudolph's much younger than Aaron Rodgers. So I'm going to say what people have said here for a while. I think he's not getting a raw deal, but I think he's good enough to be their starting quarterback.
Well, let me start out with that drive. Wasn't that on the opening drive of the game? That was something
for Rudolph.
Opening drive of the game,
7 for
touchdown. 7 for 7. That was a great pass to Darnell. I mean, he made some really good passes in that drive at a couple of third down conversions. I mean, he was awesome in that game. And Skylar, for as little reps as he got up until Wednesday, I thought he looked pretty good considering he hasn't thrown a ton. Now, as far as the roster, it's Will Howard, period. I mean, Skylar can do it. He could have another 2 games like that. It's going to be Will Howard on the roster. As for Pony's thought, I mean,
you guys don't want to come right out and disagree with me. Have you noticed that, Bob? We've sat here for 2 minutes. Adamski loves Mason Rudolph.
I've been Mr. Mason Rudolph for 3 years.
No.
And Jeff's like, I've seen both of these guys, and there's not a big difference. I get it. No one wants to say it. I said it.
I don't want to make it sound negative towards Aaron because I think Mason's played well. He's
okay, so
handled
you
the
guys
situation
agree with me.
well.
You're not sure Aaron Rodgers is better.
But I think Aaron Rodgers is the starting quarterback.
Okay, I agree with that, but I don't think he's definitively better.
Of all cities and of all people, you watched Kenny Pickett in
Do you disagree
the
with
first
me?
drive touchdown 2 years ago.
It's not so much about that. It's what Mason Rudolph did in the Steelers offense.
I said all spring that Mason Rudolph could have been the starting quarterback. I get it. I mean, this is one of the things that's not going to happen regardless, right? I mean, he might be better than him in the preseason. They're not going to make that roster. They're not going to make that change.
Well, what if Rodgers struggles early in the season?
Well, that's a whole different story because I think then things come into play.
And he should be playing right now, by the way. He should have played in that game
That's my next topic.
Tony, I would say in the last 3 practices, that would have changed my mind. Maybe in the first week, I might be more on board with Mason, but in the last few practices, I think Rodgers has really picked it up, the rhythm, the timing. You see him and Metcalf hooking up together. I think it's been better.
That's a beautiful thing to watch every day in practice. Really.
All right, but you know the bottom line is I'm looking from the scope of his career and what he's capable of doing, even at his advanced age here. I still think if he has protection, he could do it.
Now, on a more theoretical basis, yes, would the Steelers, if he struggles, if Rodgers struggles the first 6 games, I don't know what sample size you give, and the Steelers are struggling, do you have the fortitude,
No, he doesn't.
the
They
guts
would never
to
do
bench
that. They would
the Hall
not
of
do that.
Famer
Well, they should.
41
They would not. They would not
They
do
should,
it.
knowing
They wouldn't
he's
do
a
it.
one-and-done kind of guy, though, if that's
Jeff
the case.
says no way, and I agree with him. I don't think Tom would have the guts to do it.
Is there a breaking point somewhere?
They made
where
a change last year when they didn't have to, I thought, at times with Justin Fields. And so if it's a bad start, given what lies ahead in their schedule, I would consider all options at that point. Now let's talk about Aaron Rodgers.
Yep.
You brought him up. He's apparently not going to play. He didn't play last night. We'll see as we go week to week with this because it could all change. But your thoughts about him not playing? Does he need to play, given the fact it's a whole new cast?
I just think it's absolutely ridiculous that he's not playing. Joe Burrow went out because they stink at the beginning of the year and was perfect against the Eagles. Okay, they're getting their cohesion now instead of waiting until October. Patrick Mahomes, and I know there was a botched kickoff play, so he wasn't out there for as long, but Andy Reid played him. In the next game, Mahomes is going to play the whole half.
The whole half.
That's
I
what he
saw
said.
that, yep.
Okay, the
They've
whole
done that
half.
before.
Right. Tom Brady in Tampa Bay would play in the preseason. So I'm just befuddled by that. What they do is they open themselves up for criticism if they start offensively this year the way that they did last year, which is go into the first game, not score a touchdown, and need your defense and your kicker to bail you out.
How about Logan Woodside? Heck, he got in the game, actually. That's sort of the thing. Whenever Howard was hurt, only having two quarterbacks did make it a little more curious, maybe to get him some action. But
I think the Steelers,
I think he should play,
I think
too.
he should play in the third preseason game because there's
I
such
think second. I think this
such a
coming
length of time between that last preseason game and the start of the regular season. I would play him in that third.
But he needs
I would
something.
play him a couple of series, but yes, I would. He brings up a good point, Aaron does, that the joint practices can be more beneficial because you're going to see more stuff in a joint practice than you will in a preseason game. But yeah, I'd put him in a preseason game.
Yeah, you may see more, but the feeling on the field is totally different, I think, in those stadiums at night. So, and just because it's a whole new offense.
Just want to
with
call
it.
him.
I do want to call him. I want to see what it's like. Yeah, we're going to take a break on that note. When we come back, we'll talk about whose stock is up, whose is down, and then we'll talk about some other stuff around the NFL and Paul Skenes. It's all coming up later on this program. Don't go away. It's the #1 Cochran Sports Showdown. All right, welcome back. Let's talk about stock up, stock down. Caleb Johnson, Jeff Hathhorn, I thought did not have the kind of opening night I would have wanted to see from him. Yeah. He had some good third down runs. Overall, your take?
Yeah, the third down runs were impressive. He was able to put his head down a couple of times and gain. The drop pass was bad. It's still an incomplete to me. I mean, I guess if you want to say you had expectations of here, then stock is down, but I mean, he still has 2 more games.
Mm-hmm. I hate to say this. I thought he looked a lot like Najee Harris. I thought he looked just like Harris in terms of, can you please hit the hole, for crying out loud? He looked indecisive to me, which is the same issue I had with Najee for his size, like see it and go, which is one thing Jaylen Warren does well.
But see, that's his thing. He's got this Le'Veon Bell type thing.
It is a Le'Veon Bell move last night a couple of times.
I don't want dance. I want go.
It was not alarming because it's one game and what it is, but there was a lot made of him, and he does show that burst. When he gets to that second level in practices, it is something that we haven't seen at a Steelers practice in a long time out of a running back. So there is still that there, but that is without pads or shells, whatever it might be, not full tackling. It was curious to see how it would play out, but it's only, how many series did he actually play?
All right, let's talk about the tackles. Jeff, back to you on this one. They didn't allow any pressures, not that I can remember from doing that game, but your assessment of those two. They went up against Jacksonville's first-team defense, too.
All right, other than the illegal hands to the face by Fautanu, right. I mean, there wasn't anything that you looked and went, oh, my gosh, or somebody came around the edge and you're like, oh, man. Now, maybe part of the lack of running lanes were the tackles were involved in that, but I thought for a first game out there, for as little as they've played, especially Broderick on the left, I thought it was all right.
I mean, Broderick Jones has had some horrible preseason games. So the fact that he did not have one where it was penalty riddled and given up sacks and pressures, I think is a step in the right direction.
And Broderick's another guy, as camp's gone on, has been better, I think, than he was maybe early on, you feel like. So the arrow is pointing up there. And, yeah, there was certainly nothing. I think it's good at this point. I think there is, I don't know if it's confidence with him, but it's maybe confidence in the position. I think he needs some good vibes and avoiding meltdowns of any sort in the preseason.
I did find it interesting that Andres Pete's first position was left tackle.
I agree with that.
Well, that's interesting as well, yeah. And he was just off the couch
Right.
Just came right in and did that. So they may have concerns there. Let's talk about the two rookies on defense, Y.A. Black as well as Derek Harmon. Pony, your take on both of those guys?
Yeah, my take on Harmon is I have to have the film people tell me, oh, well, he does things that don't show up while you watch the game. I don't love that, okay? I get it. You know, Aaron Smith used to be that way. But they ask their defensive ends now to get pressure and not just basically eat blockers. So I'm not thrilled about that. I didn't think he had a great game. And then Black didn't play enough. I think Black played 11 snaps.
He was good when he was in there, I thought.
But I wanted to see a long – Logan Lee and Y.A. Black barely played. I mean, these are two guys that I want to see their growth and development on the defensive line, and I was shocked they weren't more involved in the game.
I mean, part of that, when Black pops almost more than Harmon does during practice settings. Now, part of it is the way he just bats down every pass. It seems like it comes his way. He didn't get an opportunity. It was, I would have thought, coming into the game, if you would have told me, I would have thought Black would have been one of the guys that plays half the snaps.
Sawyer's out there for the last drive.
That
was unbelievable.
He played a lot, actually, Jack Sawyer.
And Sawyer's, but I think that's a perfect position where you have depth, you have guys in front of him, and he needs development. Maybe he's a guy, but that's why we thought Black would play too in the morning. He did.
Right. Obviously, Harmon doesn't have a lingering injury because he played a ton of snaps.
Yeah. He was in the fourth quarter. He was in there a lot. Yeah, they actually wrote him. I want to talk about real quick the kicking situation, because at punter we expected to have a little bit more action. There were only 3 kicks, 1 by Waitman and then 2 by Johnston. You guys have been up there. Chris, what have you seen from that? Who do you think has an edge? Because it looks like a pretty good battle.
I mean, going into it, I would assume Johnston had, but they have gone out of their way to say it's an open competition. And Waitman was very good last year. I mean, anybody's better than Presley Harvin they had for 3 years, pretty much. There's an upgrade there. I love Presley, but hey, the truth is the truth. And I would have thought Johnston was the incumbent, was good, but you can make the case Waitman was the incumbent. And they do both. Listen, I'm not going to sit here and be a scout for punting, but they do both boot. But you watch Pratt, they were hitting in the air 70-some yard punts consistently, and then even getting some of the ones where they're more inside the 5. So I think they have 2 good punters. This will be one of those situations where they'll trade one for a 5th and
who wins? Who wins that battle?
I still think it'll be Johnston.
Tony?
Tough for me to say. I mean, Waitman did the job well last year, and he's not coming off an injury. And so to me, unless he falters or Johnston just crushes him in the punting competition, I would go with Waitman.
Yeah, I think it's going to be Johnston just because of the dead cap money, and that I think they feel like they signed him for 2 years. He didn't get a chance last year, and he's going to have he's going to have the chance.
Speaking of money, there's some cap money available, and now the question is, what happens with Cam Hayward and Chris Boswell? These are 2 headlines that came up this past week. We're going to delve into that when we come back. That's up next, right here on the #1 Cochran Sports Showdown. All right, news this week came from Adam Schefter in that Cam Hayward is looking for more money, holding hold in, and so is Chris Boswell, and he's one of the best, if not the best, in the game. So the question is, they have money, Andrew Fillipponi. I'll start with you. And obviously Cam Hayward has put up some pretty good numbers in his career as he's getting older, and he's not among the top 15 highest paid at his position. Does he have a case?
See, I'm somebody that isn't a hypocrite on this, or someone that is, I got to be consistent. If I believe the Steelers have a right, if he stunk last year, to cut him or make him take a pay cut, then I'm on board with him after grossly outperforming his contract, saying, I want more money. Now, if they say no, okay, that's their prerogative too. But if I were in his shoes, and I'm probably a $25 million a year player, I'm 36 years old, I would not feel great about banging my head over and over again against a guy across from me 17 weeks in making, 2/3 of what I'm worth. So I'm totally fine with what Cam Hayward is doing.
The question will be whether they want to set the precedent or break the precedent that they have. Now, they did it with Antonio Brown. They tried to kind of fudge that, and really they did break it, but they tried to act like they didn't. They're advancing, and they could do that again with Hayward, essentially take next year's money whenever they're going to renegotiate next year anyway. Yep. You're really not taking next year's money at all. It is that. Now, you do it with 2 more prominent players. At that point, then, it's fair game, right? It's going to be I'm right or wrong or indifferent. Do they want to do that where every year a player comes off a good year, if he has 2 years left, 3 years left, whatever it might be, then comes into that summer and holds in? Because that's probably what's going to happen, right? I mean, that's just.
And if they had broken that rule for T.J. Watt, Chris, they would have got him for a lot less money.
Yeah, and they could have. They should have probably.
And right, are they going to break with that or not? That's the question they have to face and come to, I guess. That's the crux of it.
And obviously, it's the timing of this. Him just signing that 2-year extension that
seems like last
goes
year
into effect this year. I know that's what has people.
Do you
really
blame his agent for that then? I mean, he knew his worth probably. I mean, the market's changed a little bit.
We said at the
certainly,
time that it was a team-friendly deal, and it turned out to be an insanely team-friendly deal.
But it was only a team-friendly deal if Cam Hayward went back to being Cam Hayward and didn't start to play like a 35-year-old, and he went back to playing like Cam Hayward.
And I wish we could look back and know that, okay, well, what if next week or this week he goes back to full practice? And it was just a couple of days where he wanted to send a message. Like, I don't know how this is all going to play out. Like, if he holds in all the way to the start of the season, I look at this differently than right now.
Bob, and I don't think you can give it to Boswell and not him. I mean, could you imagine the way, I mean, I don't think they have a mutiny or anything like that, but I think, you want to talk about precedent, I think that would be an ugly situation to reward a kicker and not the defensive player who's played more games for your team than anybody ever.
No, I understand that, but he's also the most important player on your team, Chris Boswell, at times.
So why would you both?
So I think they're both going to get it done, and probably at the same time.
The reason last year's deal, that is kind of like, again, the 2 summers ago, last year's deal, the reason it was so team-friendly is it had an easy out for the Steelers if he was bad, if he was as mediocre as he was the year before, or got hurt again like he did the year before. I mean, last year at this time, I'll give Cam Hayward full credit. I was saying, I can't believe they're going to give money to a 35-year-old coming off an injury-riddled, low-production year. I mean, you talk about the worst time maybe to give a long, and they did, but the Steelers got the team friendliness they could get out of it. Obviously, they didn't want to do that, and the market went up, and it went the total opposite way. So, maybe they should have done a one-year deal from the beginning. And
so what is the likely outcome here? What does Cam get if he gets a deal? And I suspect it's not a deal. They'll make amendments to his contract or move money around, but I think he's going to get more money. The question is, will it get done soon or not?
I think they do get a deal done, and I think they'll make they'll bring money to the front next year. They'll renegotiate something, even if they don't intend to have him play a little later on. I think they'll have something to where they give him more money. I do.
I think if it were that easy, it would have been done by now. I think the reason why Cam was so jolly and so happy-go-lucky when he got to campus, he thought this was going to be taken care of. So something's gone awry. Something's gone kind of off the rails. So, I mean, that makes sense what Jeff said, but I can't say it's going to happen because that would have been an easy thing to do, Chris.
I mean, it's a crazy situation because he essentially made all of his money already in March.
Right, he's going to make $1 million this year.
So it's crazy now to have this hold-in if you think about it from a team perspective. We already paid you everything. Now, the time to do this, now I get there's no leverage, that time in the calendar. It's hard to do something in March and hold a hold-in when there's nothing going on. But you cash the check for what you're essentially 90% of your salary was for this year. So there's a way out of it, yes, and it probably will get done, but it'll be sort of manipulated to sound like they're not doing anything different when they're going to be doing something different.
All right, when we come back, we're going to talk about Paul Skenes because it's been reported that the Pirates are trying to get something done with him. Is that something that will happen or not? We'll talk about it when we come back right here on the #1 Cochran Sports Showdown. All right, Paul Skenes' topic this week. Dan Zangrilli of 93.7 The Fan indicated that Pirates might be interested in signing Paul Skenes to something, maybe through just the arbitration years. Jeff, do you buy it? Because I think Paul Skenes is just going to play everything out and, eventually be traded.
I mean, they would be insane not to talk to him about something like that. I mean, that's an obvious, but I don't think they can say anything to Paul Skenes. I think it's what they do in this offseason that they should have done last offseason that's going to really tell Skenes whether he wants to do something like that.
I've heard a lot of people say they think the Pirates would be less receptive to doing a deal than him.
Why would they be less receptive? Because they're going to have to deal with arbitration anyway.
Because they would be like locking him in for the maximum price.
And what's wrong with that?
Because if he suffers any kind of injury or misses any time, that arbitration number will come down.
All right, but it's risky
there's
business.
something to be said for that. I mean, great. Listen, I'm not saying I believe.
No, because they've got control of him for 4 years regardless, Bob.
Or you think 4 years would be less than that when they trade him.
But there's guys like Dontrell Willis, Tim Lincecum. There's pitchers that have been dominant early in their career and then sort of just fall off a cliff or become average pitchers. Now, I'm not predicting that, but there's also injury risk with the pitcher. There's things like that. Every time Pirates got to sign these guys long term. Every time it happens, other than McCutcheon, it blows up in their face. Tabata, Polanco.
Keller really hasn't.
Keller not yet. Okay. Yeah, I mean, but we're talking to keep Brian Hayes. They just dumped off finally a bad contract. This is always great in theory, but in practice, a lot of times it doesn't work out. Is what I'm saying.
Yeah. So I mean, To me, it's just a no-brainer. I don't know. He's not represented by Boris, which means that there is a chance, I guess, Jeff. But if he was, then I think there's no chance. What do you think a deal should look? If the Pirates were to make an offer, what would it be?
I mean,
4 years, 3 years? What do you think?
I think you want to get him through free agency or through arbitration. I mean, +1.
So that would be 4.
So there's 4 years, and then back into that last one would be big.
Would be big.
So it'd have to be 4 years, 130 million?
You could see if you could work in team options, but there's no way he would go for that.
I mean, if you're not going to get 1 year free agency, what's the?
But Bob, why wouldn't he take that deal that
He
you
should.
just said?
Well, if that's the case, if they're going to go in that direction for that kind of money, I would do it if I'm here, because he's going to be here
You
anyway.
would only give up 1 year free
Right.
agency. You'd delay it by a year, but you'd be guaranteeing yourself over $100 million. So any injury, like
he'll
Chris
still
said,
be-
you wouldn't have to worry about it
Hey,
anymore.
Still only
Face
be
of the
27 or
franchise,
28 years old. So
fan goodwill, how much does that?
that's true.
What's that worth?
If
If you were to make a
it
deal
would
with
flip the
Skenes.
narrative on the Pirates. Maybe
Right.
temporarily, maybe if they go through agency, but it would completely change all this negativity and all this like blah from the fan base in the city.
They
and turn it
absolutely
into
need
very
something like
positive
that.
stuff.
Absolutely.
Now,
That's
Mackey
an
said
excellent
he's
point.
optimistic about their offseason, saying Skenes, which
Yeah.
I was also flabbergasted by.
Well, we got to go to a break on that note. So it's going to be interesting to see what happens, and I think the betting odds are nothing at this point. And if you're looking in the market for a new car, I got something for you. Don't settle for anything less than #1 Cochran's Kia clearly better car buying experience. You can enjoy exclusive clear-cut pricing where you get their most competitive offer and you get it up front. Take advantage of exceptional lease and finance rates and choose from a lineup of nearly 200 new models. Experience clearly better car buying at #1 Cochran Kia in store or do it online at cochrankia.com. All right, it's been fun. We are done. Thanks for joining us here tonight. Our thanks to Jeff Hathhorn, Andrew Fillipponi, Chris Adamski, and we'll do it again next Sunday night, 11:35. Join us for the #1 Cochran Sports Showdown.